Hi, thanks for watching. Okay, in this video, I want to talk about Taylor Schabusiness. Okay, Taylor Schabusiness. This is a recent conviction, first degree murder or intentional murder, whatever. Very serious. I mean, she's facing, life in prison without parole. Um, and I think she's pretty much vilified. I mean, she's probably as hated as Lori Vallow or very close to it. And while I'm talking about Taylor Schabusiness, and I want to try to use her real name too, because I think her name is Taylor Coronado. Okay. And her father is a Mexican American. And so we're dealing with somebody who is, to some extent, I think she's half Mexican, but, she has that Latino aspect or that Chicano, whatever identity living in Wisconsin, So to what degree that's important, I don't know. But I think to kind of respect the reality of her life, I think it's helpful maybe to call her Taylor Coronado, Taylor Coronado, and I say that, I'm half Colombian, so I also am very sensitive to that feeling of being sort of mixed race, sort of, to whatever extent it may be part of the drama of her life or the reality of her life. I think that not to leave out a detail like that, And I think also just her name is kind of almost like a mockery a little bit, because I think the husband that she was married to wasn't even really named Schabusiness. He was named something else, but he changed his name to Schabusiness because it sounded kind of cool, and so she took the name. So it's kind of almost like there's sort of a falsification, or sort of there's kind of um, there's something a little bit obfuscated with that last name. It's kind of a distraction, from maybe getting to know that person and her reality, So Taylor Coronado, okay, Taylor Schabusiness, okay. But I want to talk about this in the context also of something that really disturbed me about Lisa Montgomery. Okay, Lisa Montgomery was executed in January of 2021. Okay, so it's a little more than 2 years ago. At the very end of the Trump administration, Trump was just lining up people to kill because he wanted to, check the box of being a killer, likes to kill, likes to execute, him and Bill Barr. I'm sorry, is it Bill Barr? Um, God, why? Whatever, his attorney general. I guess it was, I don't know. I want to say Bill Barr. Anyway, but his attorney general, they both have this hard on for just executing people because it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to kill people, right thing to execute those damn people. And probably at the very last year of his term, because it was probably set up for the campaign, how many more voters are we going to get behind us? They know we're killing people. It's kind of like, it's so cynical. I mean, Trump had his whole administration to be killing people, but it's just that last year he had to do that, kill 13 and kill 13 people, who really deserve it, and I mean, and how can we argue? They probably did deserve it, but I don't know that Lisa Montgomery deserved it. Let's put it that way. And so I want to put Lisa Montgomery on the table with Taylor Schabusiness because these are two people who, like Lori Vallow, okay, nobody can deny these people have criminal tendencies. These are people who have criminal characteristics. Okay, you can't say that Taylor Schabusiness, Lisa Montgomery, Lori Vallow, they have no criminality. There is criminality. Okay, let's just be honest about that. But the problem I'm having is that I see mental illness in all three of these people. Okay, I see real mental illness in all three of these people. You're never going to find the perfectly mentally ill person. Okay, I'm sorry, but mentally ill people will sometimes be full of shit. They'll sometimes be criminal, and they'll sometimes even be maybe psychopathic. But that doesn't negate the fact that they may also have a real mental illness. Okay. And I'm sorry, but I looked at Taylor Schabusiness for 2 minutes. Okay. And then she is stone cold crazy. Okay. I don't care if she's acting it up a little bit. I don't care if she's hamming it up a little bit. She's crazy. Okay. So it's like, I'm sorry, because I've been in a mental hospital. I've seen mentally ill people. I've been mentally ill. I've had psychotic, almost psychotic bipolar episodes. I mean, I've been delusional. Okay. She's crazy. Okay. I mean, she's crazy. And what really pisses me off, I work in criminal defense. Okay. And what really pisses me off, and I tell you, my experience with psychologists, I'm really kind of like, I'm not objective. Okay. Because in my experience with psychologists, they'll say whatever you pay them to say, because they have no spine. They have no spine. One psychologist, oh, you want me to say she's crazy? Is that what I'm being paid for? Oh, she's crazy as hell. And they'll exaggerate it to the point where it's not even credible, you know? And then, oh, I'm supposed to say she's not crazy. Okay. And you don't say it like that, but it's understood that way. And they'll just be happy to give you this long analysis of how, yeah, she's had problems with reality. She's been on antipsychotic medication. She's been hospitalized 5 times, but technically, and I'll explain with a lot of paragraphs and a lot of syllables why she's not really technically mentally ill. It's like, it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's really just exaggerated. And this is the thing where you get a PhD and you can cash out all these paragraphs and all these syllables and all these fancy words to just basically rationalize a bunch of bullshit, because you can just look at her, and anybody with common sense can look at her and say she's fucking stone cold crazy. She's just crazy. Okay. And on top of that, she can be dishonest. And on top of that, she's fucking also a criminal. So I'm sorry, get over it. Get over it. A person can be criminal. A person can be even evil and at the same time be crazy. That can happen, And so let's look at what happened with Taylor Schabusiness, Taylor Coronado. Let's call her by her real name, Taylor Coronado. Her dad is Mexican. She speaks with a Wisconsin accent. Her mom was probably Wisconsin, from that, probably a white person, but and she's like half white, but she's also has Latin, whatever. She also has Mexican blood, so I want to kind of respect that because I'm also I'm half Latin, so I want to respect that. But bottom line is, so what happened with Taylor Coronado, Taylor Schabusiness? Okay, so she's unstable. She's been hospitalized on and off. I mean, her dad had to send her even out of the state because she was going crazy, and he wanted to get her out of that environment. So she spent time with her grandparents. Basically, she's been all over the place. I mean, and the family apparently has struggled with her issues. Her father had to personally take her to a mental hospital because she was just flipping out, going crazy. The girl is crazy, And I don't think you need to analyze it too deeply. She's had multiple diagnoses of, bipolar with psychotic features, psychosis, whatever. She's been given like Haldol. Haldol's a very serious antipsychotic. I mean, you don't just prescribe that medication like candy, and then to get some expert to get up there with all these fancy syllables and his fancy attitude. Oh, but I don't think, after really analyzing it, I don't think she's really mentally ill. I mean, that's just to me, that is just like the epitome of intellectual rationalization. I mean, she's stone cold crazy. You put her next to like the average population in any mental hospital in the United States, and she's up there like among the craziest, just looking at her. You don't have to analyze it, And so it really bugs me how people use their big brains and their big fancy thinking, and all that PhD training to basically just say whatever bullshit they're supposed to say, and that to me is just insane, because someone's life's on the line. Like, look, like I know she killed somebody, all right, and I know that she deserves to be separated from the public. She's a danger. She is definitely dangerous. Like I wouldn't want to get close to Taylor Schabusiness. I'd be scared as I don't want to get any close to her. I'm glad there's people that work in mental hospitals, take care of people like that, but the bottom line is she belongs in a mental hospital. The prison is not going to do anything good. I mean, she'll just be an animal in prison. She just throws her feces and her menstrual blood all over the place. I mean, that's her future, in a prison. There's no real therapy. I mean, prison is not therapeutic, I'm sorry. And so I don't know. Let's just talk a little bit about what happened, because obviously the public's outraged. The public thinks she's a demon and she just needs to be basically just killed, because that's what it is to send her to prison. That's just basically, she won't have a life, and people are very happy about that. So what happened? Okay, we have a person who was very unstable, who had a lot of mental health history, okay, and did a lot of methamphetamine. That's not good. That's not good. That's not going to help her with her mental illness. And I'll admit, the methamphetamine probably contributed a big portion. She was probably already vulnerable, but the methamphetamine just took her off the planet, basically. So I understand, there's that legal principle that if you voluntarily get yourself into a drug situation where it's likely that you'll lose your mind, that you should be held responsible. Like, I get that, but I also think that's very simplistic, okay? Because at the time of the murder, she was more than crazy. She was more than crazy. She was having, wild sex with some ex-boyfriend after she had been married, okay? And she was having problems with her marriage. So her life was already like in a lot of turmoil. And she gets with this guy and they're doing meth, or she's doing meth, or maybe they're both doing meth. And they're doing crazy sex. And she just kind of loses her mind and flips out. And a little aggressive part of her sort of comes out. And she basically just strangles this dude. And then she doesn't know what to do with the body. And she's half crazy. And she ends up dismembering the body. And the whole thing is just incredibly disgusting. Okay. So, I mean, there's no question that we're dealing with a very, very dangerous, very mentally, I think, unwell person. Whether they're doing meth or not doing meth, this person is not safe to be in the public. Okay, I understand that. Okay, but I just think if you add everything up, okay, and if you can just kind of separate from the outrage at what she did, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible when a bear kills somebody in the woods, But what am I going to do? Hate bears? I mean, bears are part of nature. Crazy people. Do I just hate people because they're crazy? I mean, any schizophrenic person can potentially kill somebody, and it does happen. I'm sorry. Big secret to everybody: the mental hospitals have a lot of people that have hurt people. Okay, even killed people. A lot of people have killed and end up in a mental hospital. Okay, so it's not like Taylor Schabusiness would be the only person who gets away with it. She's not getting away with it. If she were to go to a mental hospital, she would almost never be getting out. She'd probably be there for like 20 years, which is plenty of time, or maybe longer, maybe 30 years, who knows? But the bottom line is that, yes, it's terrible what she did. Yes, she has some responsibility. I'm not denying that, okay? But I still think that we're still not giving enough emphasis. We're not taking into enough consideration just how crazy she is. And we're sitting here and we're allowing ourselves to listen, to process and accept these cockamamie, just rationalized opinions of these I'm sorry, these experts who have no integrity, no personal integrity. They exaggerate how much mentally ill she is on the side of the defense, and then they exaggerate on the side of the prosecution that she has no mental illness. It's like, it's insane. It's insane. The psychologists are as insane as the rest, as it's like everybody's is crazy in this picture. And so I'm really troubled by that, because in the end, I don't know if this sounds like sexist or whatever, but how are we treating women? These are two women. Lisa Montgomery, she was also did a very heinous crime. And why do I put these two together? Okay, because Taylor Schabusiness didn't just kill somebody; she killed and mutilated somebody. It was disgusting. It was a heinous crime scene. Well, Lisa Montgomery did the same thing. She literally carved a baby out of the womb of a living person. She got into this delusion where she was in like a false pregnancy, like a hysterical, like a fantasy pregnancy. And she found another person and schemed a way to get to their house and under deception, so that she could basically just carve the baby out of that person's womb and just leave her for dead. So that's a horrible crime. I mean, horrible crime. And it's kind of disgusting on the same level, but the problem is, and this is the problem, that yes, you could see how Lisa Montgomery had a dishonest, deceptive, manipulative, psychopathic process. Okay. But if you really got to know the case, you would see that Lisa Montgomery was also crazy, really a crazy person. Okay. I'm sorry. And throughout her entire stay in the Bureau of Prisons, she was in Fort Worth at the, she wasn't even in a prison. Before she was executed, the whole time, Lisa Montgomery was in a BOP hospital, okay, basically, because she couldn't be in a regular prison. I mean, that's how crazy she was. She spent the whole time in a BOP hospital, okay, which is a prison hospital, but it's in Fort Worth. I forget what it's called, but it's the Bureau of Prisons. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has a prison hospital, and they have one in North Carolina, one in Fort Worth. And basically, Lisa Montgomery spent her entire prison term on death row, but in the hospital, basically, okay, because she had to be given tons of medication just to function, Okay. And we're going to say that that person's not mentally ill. She was as crazy as anybody in any mental hospital anywhere, you know? And the fact that she has some psychopathic symptoms, or that she's capable of being full of shit or manipulative, that somehow sort of discounts the fact that she's also stone cold crazy, you know? So I guess I'm concerned because, this raises the question to me, how do we treat women with mental illness? If they do a bad enough thing, and if, God forbid, if they have some psychopathy or some criminality, that somehow we're just going to kind of negate and find a way to rationalize and think that they don't really have mental illness. Well, they do have mental illness. Okay. And so how do we treat mentally ill people? Is it more, what is the morality of executing a mentally ill person, a person who can't function without a cocktail of antipsychotic drugs? What does it mean for us? I mean, before Lisa Montgomery's execution, she was on a regimen of tremendous doses of psychiatric medication, just in a hospital. So to get her executed, they had to transfer her from the hospital to uh, a Bureau of Prisons aircraft and sent to temporary holding cell in Terre Haute, Indiana. The day before, I think, the execution. So she was basically taken from a mental hospital so that she could be processed for an execution. I mean, to me, that is like, I don't even think bullying is the word. I mean, bullying, really. I mean, yeah, she did something bad, but what kind of society executes people who are in a hospital setting on medication, who are truly crazy? Okay, what the hell does that mean? And what kind of country does that? What is it? I don't know. To me, that's bullying. And a woman on top of that. Like, I'm sorry if that sounds sexist, but a mentally ill woman. I think the indignity of that. I think to me, that says a lot about us. And so, I mean, I don't know. Like, look, I mean, I'm also disgusted by the crimes they committed, and they are crimes. I mean, these are crimes. These are people who have criminality. Okay, but the thing I want to encourage is to consider that a person can have criminality, can have psychopathy, but can also be crazy. Okay, really crazy, and that is always part of it. That's always part of the big picture. And I just wonder what does it mean for a country who could somehow rationalize and be comfortable with basically disposing of people like animals who are actually mentally ill, and in some cases mentally ill women. What kind of culture does that make us? Who are we? How are we processing these things? So I'm thinking, what therapy do we as a public need, so that we can, on the one hand, be outraged? We should be outraged. We should be disgusted by these crimes. These are terrible crimes. But on the other hand, can we also not weigh at the same time the reality is that these are, people who have criminality, but who are also really, honestly, just mentally ill. I mean, I'm sorry, this is so absurd. I understand there are some cases like Lori Vallow, for example. Like, if you just look at her, she doesn't seem obviously crazy when you just look at her. Okay. When you look at Lori Vallow, she's, you have to really kind of meditate and sort of process what she's saying to see how crazy she is. But when you look at Taylor Schabusiness, I mean, she is just out of her mind. Just the little clips you show from the trial, where you see her live on court TV or whatever. That person is just insane. You know, and to think that we're even considering, that maybe she's not mentally ill. I mean, what are we doing? That's crazy for us. I think we just need to accept, look, we are, as a public, we are, outraged at the crime. Okay. The crime is heinous. It's on the level of like Charles Manson kind of stuff. I mean, it's just complete mutilation of a body, disgusting, whatever, a terrible crime. But we also have to be able to weigh at the same time, this person is crazy and clearly crazy. Okay, that why are we going through all this fanfare? I think, I don't know. I mean, I think in a more healthy environment, more healthy public, more healthy country, I think we as a public will be able to have the outrage and be disgusted, but also be able to recognize when a person is really, I'm sorry, insane. Insane. And I think our legal system needs to become a little more adapted to a more mature, way of processing. But unfortunately, the what I've learned working in the law, because I work in the law, is that the law reflects all the imperfections of the culture in which it sits. Okay, so the law cannot really be any more mature than the public that it represents. So instead of us pointing at the law and saying the law needs to get better, I think we as a public need to get more mature in how we process uncomfortable things. Okay, how we process uncomfortable, disturbing things, so that we can maintain our maturity and strive to be mature, so that we can process uncomfortable things, but also, so we can experience uncomfortable things and have the right reaction, but also be mature about it and notice things like when a person is just crazy, even if they have committed a crime, and really to meditate on what it means, because what happened to Lisa Montgomery to me is an atrocity. I mean, I say that fully understanding that what she did was terrible. Like, Lisa Montgomery committed a terrible crime, but what we did as a country to execute her like that is disgusting. Okay, it is disgusting. Okay, and I think the same thing is happening with Taylor Schabusiness, because she's so vile and so despicable. You know, we're just going to kind of forget the fact she's a mentally ill woman, and we're just going to condemn her to a life where now she's going to spend the rest of her life throwing her feces and her menstrual blood and just being an animal, basically, in a prison. And inevitably, she'll get so crazy in prison. Inevitably, she'll just be pumped up on a cocktail of drugs, just like Lisa Montgomery, for the rest of her life. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to have a zombie sitting in a terrible prison, in a terrible environment that's not even the slightest bit therapeutic. Okay, basically just pumped up on basically veterinary grade, like veterinary doses of like elephant grade cocktail of basically zombie medication, just like super high powered tranquilizers. Basically, it's almost like veterinary medicine, really. And this person is just going to be sitting there in a prison, in the most untherapeutic environment, just pumped up on chemicals until her body gives out. And living in an environment that doesn't have any aspect of anything therapeutic. So what we've basically done is we basically condemned Taylor Schabusiness to a life, what I would consider torture. Okay, I mean, it is torture because it's below inhuman. I mean, living in a mental hospital is already inhuman enough. Okay, but what she's going to live will be, subhuman. I mean, and so it's almost like I wonder if we really get a pleasure as a public of seeing somebody literally condemned to something that is just so. I mean, it's really. I don't even know if torture is the right word. It's more like an inhuman existence. It's like worse than hell. You know what I mean? But I wonder if we sort of enjoy that as a public. And I think we really should check ourselves out. Because we can still accept that she committed a terrible crime. We can still accept that what she did was, completely heinous. And we can still understand that she has no business, no shabusiness mixing with the public, and she needs to be separated from the public. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, I understand, but I just wonder, what does it say about us? Whether we have maybe a sort of a desire to see people like that put in this almost inhuman condition beyond punishment. It's more than punishment. It is almost unspeakable. And I think maybe what we're missing as a public, maybe people in public need to maybe need to go visit prisons. Maybe as a member of the public, maybe as part of like our high school education, maybe they should have a 13th year, like a 13th year of high school, where in your 13th year you have to go maybe go visit a death row, maybe witness an execution, maybe go visit a mental hospital, maybe go spend a week in an emergency room, maybe spend a week riding along with police, maybe spend a week working volunteer in a prison, so you can see, or like say homeless people, like in Skid Rows and stuff like that, to really see, because later we're going to become voting members of the public, and we're going to vote on these issues, and we're going to express our opinions and pretend like we have a real opinion about these issues. Well, I think maybe in our 13th year, like the last year of high school, like the real last year of high school should be like a year 13. Maybe we should do like a rotation through all these different things, so that when we have our fat ass opinions sitting in our comfortable suburbs, drinking our wine and beer, having all these opinions, that we'll actually know what we're talking about. We'll actually know what we're having an opinion about. So not to say that it's not terrible when people commit crimes. And believe me, like if somebody is a real criminal, they need to be separated. I understand that. But I think we just need to have a little more humanity in how we actually process, because what we're ending up doing, we're finally to a point where we're revealing as a public the ability to literally torture and kill mentally ill women. Okay. That's where we've come, and I think we need to really examine ourselves, because I think we are starting to become also kind of like heinous killers as well. You know what I mean? So, in a small degree, we are also participating in that, that killing fest, so to speak, or sort of like the enjoyment of destroying people. You know, and I think that becomes really unseemly when we're dealing with mentally ill women. So, as far as I'm concerned, Taylor Schabusiness, Taylor Coronado, and Lisa Montgomery to me are very related cases, because these are people who have that combination of criminality and real insanity, okay, and how they get treated in our legal system, which is just a reflection of our own lack of maturity as a public, because the legal system will never reflect anything better than the quality of the public that we are. So I invite people as members of the public to think about what we can do to become more mature in the way we deal with life's issues. And, I personally propose a 13th year of high school. That's what I propose, where you just get to tour all the gallery of all the disgusting things in the world, in our world, and maybe even travel to other countries, to really later be able to know what we're opining about when we talk about Haiti or Cuba or Colombia or crime or the war on drugs. We've seen some of that, So anyway, just my ideas. And so, so yeah, this video has been about Taylor Schabusiness and Lisa Montgomery, and how I feel about how we treat criminals who are also mentally ill women. And thanks a lot for watching, and talk to you later.